Hello, and welcome to an introduction to an add-on tool for Canvas called Cranium Cafe. Cranium Cafe is designed to be a tool that will give you one-on-one access to your students. It is an add-on to Canvas. It is a purchased add-on. We're licensed for the next year and hopefully beyond that. You can access it and in full video with a webcam, audio only with a microphone, or even from the keyboard. So your student does not necessarily have to have a webcam in order for this to be a good tool to be used. You can upload and share files during your session, and you can also actually share computer screens back and forth. Firefox is the preferred browser for this interaction, as it is the preferred browser for Canvas, but you can also use Chrome. Do not use Internet Explorer. You'll need the latest update of the browser to be installed, and if you're going to share computer screens, you need to be sure that the latest version of Java is also active and ready to go on the computer. Students do not need to have a webcam from their side, and we'll demonstrate how that works. But this is basically what needs to be in place. You will access Cranium Cafe from inside the Canvas class that you and or your students are in. So let's go ahead and move on over to Canvas. All right, I've logged on to Canvas. I've logged on to an online faculty training course. And if you'll look at the left-hand side of my screen in the tool list, you'll see an item called Cranium Cafe. Cranium Cafe is in all of your Canvas classes, and you activate it within your own class by going to Settings. So if you choose Settings, and then go to the navigation tool within Settings, you'll notice that my Cranium Cafe is above the line. So what we're going to do is, normally it would be clear to the bottom under these dimmed out pieces. This is what I call the line. Drag items here to hide them from students. So that's my line. Everything above the line is visible to students. Everything below the line is visible only to myself. So you're going to click and drag Cranium Cafe, putting it up in your regular tool items that is visible to students, and then you're going to scroll back to the bottom and choose Save. In case you've never been to the navigation tools in Canvas, it is a recommendation that if the students will not be using certain pieces, pull it below the line and save it so that students are not confused that perhaps they should be using a tool that you're not using at this point in time. So now that we've got the tool open in your own Canvas class, we're going to go back to Cranium Cafe, and let's talk about your item right here. Michelle is going to be working with me today. You can see that within Cranium Cafe, we're both available. We both have a green light. It's the same as you've got an office door, it's open, I'm ready to talk. I could actually contact Michelle because she's available. I can actually invite her to chat or cafe with me, or we can go through the process of making an appointment, which we're going to do here in a few minutes. But I want you to see that everybody within the class, and these are faculty members who have taken the online faculty training before, so they are not logged on to Canvas at the current time, and so they're unavailable. But this is a possibility for your students. So if two students are assigned to do a project together, they can actually come to Cranium Cafe, make an appointment with each other, or request to chat, and they can work back and forth just as Michelle and I will be doing today. But let's talk about first that you will get a message the first time you enter Cranium Cafe that asks you to set a password. Cranium Cafe is an add-on program, which means it has a website of its own, craniumcafe.com. While we're in a class inside Canvas, full access is given to the student and to yourself just by logging on to Canvas. However, you need to be aware that you could go to craniumcafe.com And when the password setup window pops up on your first login, it will give you your Cranium Cafe username. It is not the same as your Canvas username, and it will ask you to set a password of your choice. You will only need this Cranium Cafe username and password if you go to the Cranium Cafe internet website. So what we're going to do, obviously, is interact within Cranium Cafe inside Canvas, but just be aware that that would occur. Now, what we want to do first, your first time logging on, is you're going to want to choose Profile and set up your individual profile. So you can upload a photo and just click on the blank avatar, whatever is there, and then go ahead and upload a photo. You can change your name. It should come in automatically. I could add a middle initial here. You will need to add your title, your email, your office address, and any type of information that you want to appear on that window that we just passed. I'm going to use a term called LTI, and that's what I'm going to call it from here on out. So I might want to indicate that my online office hours in Cranium Cafe are 2 to 4 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I do highly recommend this tool as an office hour tool, whether you're going to set office hours physically or virtually, because what's going to happen on appointments is that appointments will be set with your permission and will automatically be added with your permission to your Outlook calendars. So you can see when your Cranium Cafe appointments are in relationship to all of your other appointments. It doesn't have to be a separate process. So once you've set your profile to the way you want it to be, you can go ahead and choose Update Profile. And then what you're going to see back as you go to the main users is you will see all of that information here in your LTI. If I click to read the bio here, that does say office hours are 2 to 4 p.m. So it doesn't necessarily need to be your bio of any length. It's just whatever information you want to appear in this area. So the next thing you would want to do is identify what hours you will be available in the cafe. So I'm going to click on cafe hours. They're very simple to set. You simply go to the day of the week where you want to set hours. You can see that I've set some hours from 2 to 4 p.m. every Tuesday and every Wednesday. To add hours, you simply click on the day and the time. Then you set the time, the length of time starting and ending. Are they for today only, or do they recur on multiple days? So Tuesday, Thursday from here on out. You can actually set office hours of a different color. And so if you wanted, for whatever reason, to differentiate between hours, you could do so and make them color-coded and have some fun with it. But the point is, I can have multiple times, single day only, or recurring appointments as I move forward. Then I would choose Save. And then when a student wants to make an appointment with me back on this cafe user time, I can't click on My Appointments, but Michelle's working with me. I can click and make an appointment with Michelle. So with Michelle, I would go ahead, make the appointment, and I can look and see that, whoops, there's no appointments available this week. So we would not have that information in there at this point in time. But that's how you would go ahead and do that. You would click on the empty appointment time, and then at that point, you're going to get a notification upon that request, which you will be able to accept or reject. Let me move over to my email here for just a minute and show you how that works. All right, so I've pulled my email up here, and I'm going to click on an invitation. You'll see that it's an appointment invitation from Michelle Tisdale. At this point, she's requesting an appointment today at, looks like about 2:30, I guess. Anyway, I look at the appointment and I can accept it, tentatively accept it, decline it, or move to my move to my calendar. I'm going to go ahead and accept that, at which point that appointment is placed on my Outlook calendar, and I just received a little ding that I have an appointment in the wings. So look right here, it automatically set, and it's setting them in this color. So you can see that they differentiate on my calendar, and I can easily see which appointments are for Cranium Cafe. So now when I come back into Cranium Cafe, a student, to keep the appointment as well as yourself, would simply go into Cranium Cafe and they would click on appointments, as I'm going to do now. I can see that I have an appointment and they've already opened the appointment as soon as I'm ready to join. So you can see that I'm going to have the option to join the cafe. I am going to join up with Michelle. So I'm going ahead and I'm logging in, and I can see what you will get is a little window here that says, do you want to allow access for Cranium Cafe to your webcam? At which point I do say allow. I can choose remember, and then it wouldn't ask me again. I can also deny. I can also see that there's different options for what I can allow and not allow. I already know my settings are okay, so I'm just going to close. It allows me to check right here, make sure that everything's okay, and then I go ahead and join the cafe. So I'm going to wait a minute. You can see that I'm right here, but I do not yet see Michelle joining the cafe. So let's go ahead, and she should be joining us at any given time. Hi, Michelle. As you can see, Michelle has joined me in the cafe, and really we're just to the point that virtually she is just sitting across the desk from me. So we're going to be able to visit. She does have a webcam, as you can see, so we're just going to be able to conduct our conversation back and forth. We actually, when Michelle made an appointment, she actually had the option of uploading a file to be included in the appointment, which she didn't do in this case, but both of us have the option of uploading multiple files to be used during our session. So she's going to go ahead and upload a file, and I'm going to do the same. You can see that I've been notified that Michelle is uploading a file from her side, at which point I'm dimmed out and I can't do anything else. I just need to wait a few seconds for her file to come in. And then I can do the same thing with a document from my side, and we will be able to jump back and forth between multiple documents during our session. So her file looks like it might be just a little larger because it is taking a moment. Okay, so we had a little difficulty with Michelle uploading a document, and she's resolving that for technical reasons on her side. But what we do is we come down under File Controls, we choose the Upload button, and then I have the opportunity to browse. So I'm going to browse for a file. Michelle and I work together in concurrent enrollment. So one of the things you can do within Cranium Cafe is if you're team teaching, if you have another faculty member that is working with you in this course, you two can actually cafe back and forth together as you work through the course. So I'm going to upload a registration form that we're working on or had for fall semester for concurrent enrollment. You'll notice that it is uploading. The wheel says it's currently uploading. And we're going to wait.
Oh, here we go.
So you can see now that Michelle and I can both look at a particular document. I'm going to go ahead and actually upload a second document as well to show you that you can work on multiple documents, whether Michelle is uploading from her side or I'm uploading from my side. What we can do here is if you'll look across the top at the first bank of tools under presentation, you're going to see a highlighter, a sticky note, a rectangle, and ellipse. What I like to do with my students is I like to assign myself a color and let the student decide what color they want to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and pick turquoise as my color, and that's always my color. I don't let the student use that. That way, as I save this document later for myself or the student saves it for themselves, they'll always know that the certain color marking came from the instructor and the other color marking would come from the student. So for example, Michelle, go ahead and pick your color and take a minute and highlight something that you want me to look at. I'm going to do the same for Michelle and highlight this particular first sentence, and she'll know that the instructor has marked that particular item. Michelle's chosen a purple color, and so now she's highlighting for me the same thing. Michelle, go ahead and use the ellipse tool, and I'll go ahead and use the rectangle. So I can use the rectangle and indicate to Michelle that let's take a look at these senior classes only. Here again, from my side, I'm working with a student with a turquoise and with the rectangle shape, whereas the student is working with the ellipse shape and it has a different color. Now that's just one example of how the differences may be used. We might decide that certain items that need to be deleted could have the circle shape, and those items that need to be edited could have the rectangle shape. So multiple, but it does allow you options for different markings in the document. We also have the ability to add notes to this document by adding the sticky note. So I'm going to go ahead and add the note. I double click on the sticky note and enter something. So I might say, Michelle, will you please check on the accuracy of the CRN? So she knows when she comes back later that that's what she's supposed to be doing. And so she can do that. I'm going to save that, and then that will be available for the two of us to look at should we save the document. Michelle also has the option of adding a sticky note. Sticky notes are not color specific, so all sticky notes will show as yellow. So you may want to type in your name at the bottom of the sticky note, some way to identify who was making those particular comments. If we wanted to work on a second document, I could simply, Michelle's just had a problem with her computer, and so it's a little bit difficult for her with some of the items that haven't been fixed correctly on her computer. So I'm going to do both of the uploads from my side, but be aware that both of us have the option of uploading and working on files together. So I've opened up another document of which she can see, and then to move back and forth between the two documents, I would go back to the upload and I would click on the down arrow under the document queue and move back and forth between those documents and then click on show, and it will bring one document back over the top of the other document. If there are multiple pages in a document, you would move to the bottom and you can advance. In fact, this one does have a second page, and so I can move to the second page and I can move back to the first page. The nice part about this item is that once we have marked everything up, we can have some options during this time. We can fit to the width, which makes it zoomed in and makes it a little larger. We can make it fit back to the page size. We can undo, which will undo one at a time any of the markings that have been put on the document itself, or we can clear the document of all marks by choosing this X right here. Once we're finished and we want to make a, quote, archive or a copy of this document, we can actually come down to File Controls under Save Notes. Click on Save, and I'm just going to set this one to the desktop. Excuse my twisted tongue here. And I'm just going to put Michelle October 8th. This will save it as a picture file, a JPEG file. So then later on, when I want to go back and say, what did we actually work on and what did we decide, and I need to see what the final draft should reflect, I can simply go over and open a document. I can go to the desktop. I can find, hopefully here quickly, Michelle October 8th, and it will simply open this up, using whatever your default tool is to open JPEG files, and it will actually open that document and reflect just as it was saved at the time you saved it. So you can see as this pops up that we're going to go ahead and have the document. Here's all of the markings that we had. I can send this to the printer and print it out, put it in a file to reflect on later. But I do have an exact copy of what we did during our session. This could be very helpful when you work with a student on a rough draft, and then later on you want to see if they have incorporated your suggestions into the final. So you could simply have a copy of this one and look at that final and see what they've done with your suggestions as an example. This is also very helpful to a student who is looking for guidance on a paper and is looking to improve that draft, and you might talk for 15-20 minutes, which is a lot of information. As we close the session today, not right now, but in a few minutes, you'll see we also have the option of saving this as an archive, which would actually save this as a video recording for the student to play back. So it gives the student the option of having a complete script, so to speak, of all of the things that they should be doing for that improvement. We also have the option of actually sharing a screen together. I'm going to click on my share screen option. The student could do the same from their side, and you can see from the demonstration here that everything now that appears within my blue box is going to appear for Michelle on her side in this regular gray screen. What I find to be very helpful in using this, you can see the flash refresh rate, that is making 3 small boxes visible in this same window. If I'm going to show the web, I simply open a second browser and pull that browser into the screen. And then I can go ahead and, let's say I wanted to work from Dixie's homepage and reflect to a student something that was maybe even a way to get to a particular page. I can pull the internet inside that window, minimizing as appropriate to show the size that we need. And sometimes that may involve a lot of scrolling. But you do have the option of making that small enough and it will fit. So for example, you might have a student who's having trouble logging into Canvas. Well, that's not a good example because you wouldn't be in Cranium Cafe if that was the case. You might want to tell them how they could find a degree worksheet, for example, for a degree they're pursuing. So you could simply open up the website, go to Academics, go to the University Catalog, and then refer the student to the degree worksheets or the degrees and programs by school or whatever option you want. And then the student could pick from those choices, and it's working here. Should be giving me degree worksheets. And anyway, if the website is working appropriately, that's going to pop into the screen. I'll make another choice here. Not working. So let's take a look at another website that may be more functional. And I can indicate that I want to go to the concurrent enrollment website. I might be working with a concurrent student who needs to register each semester, who has already been admitted. So I can actually walk them through step by step and can actually be demonstrating for them the web. I'm not limited to the web. Anything that I have available on my desktop can be made available to the student. So I can even take an Excel file that I'm working on, and I can actually pull Excel into that window. This is just an empty copy of a travel claim, and we can actually work through that together. I could show her how to fill out a travel claim for Dixie State. It could be Word, it could be a special piece of software that you're using, that type of thing, but we can actually share and use the desktop. When I'm finished, I simply say stop sharing. And at that point, we're going to revert back to the desktop, the whiteboard at Cranium Cafe, back to the documents that we're using. Let's say that Michelle did not have a webcam on her side. Michelle, go ahead and hit the cafe chat and type a message in for me that you'd like to have answered. So what she's going to do is she's going to use the keyboard to communicate with me by opening cafe chat. When she does that, she will type a message just like I can do here. You'll see that she's there. She is typing. At the point she hits enter, I'm going to see a message that I can choose to answer her by typing the answer in, or because she is going to be able to see, to hear me from her side, I can simply say, oh, Intro to Theater will begin at 8 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I've been able to verbally answer her, or I could simply type in the answer, which would appear as well. The nicest part, I hope as a faculty member that you are going to consider working from a webcam, because that's the beauty of the whole thing. But in the meantime, a student does not necessarily have to do that. So, Michelle, thanks so much for visiting with me today. I haven't even hardly let Michelle talk. Why don't you say something, Michelle, so they know that we can hear you from your side?
Well, it's good to join you.
Hey, thanks. We'll see you next time.
All right, thanks,
Okay,
Becky.
So when we go ahead and are finished with our appointment, we will exit the cafe, and you'll see that it wants to know if I want to archive this recording. If I choose yes, it will save the entire recording into the archive of Cranium Cafe, and I can go back and play it back later. I'm not interested in archiving this particular session, so I'm going to click on no. But be aware that when you do archive, in fact, maybe I'll do that here, you are archiving into storage at Cranium Cafe, and you can see that each time you end a session, it's going to send you to the Cranium Cafe website and ask you to fill in a survey form. But when I get out of Cranium Cafe, and I guess I must have said no because it did not ask me if I wanted to save. Normally, it did not tell me that it was saving. So to view an archive that I have said yes to, I come back to my Cranium Cafe main window inside Canvas. I choose Archives, and you can see actually that it is rendering. It did go ahead and save. It is rendering out the archive right now, so it won't be available to me for about 5 or so minutes. But you can see some other archives that have been completed, and you can see that I have the option to just view the chat history, which would only be those items that were typed in. I have the option to download the archive to my desktop, and you do have about 1 gigabyte limit on your Cranium Cafe account. So if you decide to archive multiple recordings, you would want to download them to your desktop or to a folder where you can then use any media software to play those back. Then you can actually play the archive back, or you can trash the archive altogether. So that is where you find and locate your archives. Your archives can also be located over here in Cranium Cafe if you chose to log in. You'll notice up here, because I am logged in Canvas, I am already logged into Cranium Cafe on this side. If I wasn't, I could choose to log in to the Cranium Cafe site. So looking back, I think we've covered now the appointments, the cafe hours, and how this particular feature works. You can see that Michelle has exited and is no longer here. Keep in mind that if you are wanting to be available, if someone should click on chat and request to meet with you, you could go ahead and just log on to craniumcafe.com or log on to any one of your courses and then just go ahead and let it run in the background while you bring up something else, and then you can move from class to class and not be confined into one space. There will be a couple of handouts also posted on the CTLE website along with this video that will give you an instruction sheet to hand to students in order to prepare to cafe with you. Very briefly again, they need to have the latest version of Firefox or Chrome installed. They do need to have Java installed if you plan to share your computer screens. Java is not a necessary add-on to this unless you do attempt to share screens. You will also want the student, you or your student can actually run a little trial with the Cafe bot, which comes right from Cranium, that allows you to make a trial and see what's working and what's not working. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or call me. My number is extension 7836, or my email is bsmith@dixie.edu. Happy cafeing!